fun. You can't even see my WDMA up here, but it's there. Oh, I moved everything. I've been looking for an archive, so everything's aimed funny and all that. I guess I'm in the middle. I've been looking for an archive that I know I have somewhere, and I've been looking through old business cards, and I just uncovered a little bit of an archive. This is what we used to use before we had a database. I haven't looked through them yet. I just found them, and I'm in a hurry, so I can't look for them yet. I don't think it's in there, but I have just an archive of all the weird jobs I did. I have a business card saved from when I was a ski instructor. My senior year in high school, all winter I did that. My first real paying job, I think, was a sailing school instructor. That was my best job probably ever. I laid out on the lake and yelled at little kids. But until I find the archive, I'll just make do with what I have. The first real money I remember earning, besides, our parents paying us for chores around the house, we never had an allowance, but we did sometimes earn stuff. But the first money I remember was Alaska and Hawaii came into the Union around 1960. I think they were recognized as states in 1959. And somewhere along there, I would say in probably 61, 62 or something, new flags came out, were designed, and they came out with 50 stars instead of 48 stars, which was a little bit of a puzzle. I remember hearing that. And my dad somehow found a wholesaler of flags, and he said, everyone's going to want new flags. So I took my little red wagon, literally. I was probably 7 years old. That would be 62, summer of 62. I took my little red wagon and I went down the street, and we lived out in the country, so there was a lot of distance between houses. And I went door to door and I sold the flags for, I think, Keystone markup. I think, he sort of explained to me that this is what you have to charge. And so that was my first experience at straight commission sales. I remember my brother hearing about it and later took old Christmas cards and went door to door trying to sell them to the neighbors. I think some of them bought them just because they felt sorry for the kid. Anyway, I did a lot of crazy jobs along the way, but when I got into college, I was going to take 6 weeks off in the middle of summer, and not many jobs want to hire you for that. And so my dad said, I think you can sell advertising. And so he gave me a business card, and this is it, Advantage Ad. Can you see that? Let's see. There you go, Advantage Ad, Inc. And he gave me a half a day of sales training. And he had me memorize a pitch for a restaurant advertising program. And I remember, it went something like, it costs a lot to keep the lights on. Everybody has to get paid. And people tend to go where they're invited. And so you decide you're going to advertise your restaurant. But you go down to the local newspaper and they open a big book and you see a chef with a high hat or a waitress with a tray or steaks, chops, and lobster on a plate. Remember that? And that was my pitch. And I remember selling in a little cafe in Wales, Wisconsin, which is not far from our house. And I came home, midday, and Dad's like, "What are you doing home?" I said, "I got an order." And I went on to be fairly successful at that. For one summer, I was stationed out in New Jersey, and I think I made $350 a week or something. And everybody else I was on a mission program, like a beach evangelism program. And not only did I make 4 times the next best kid, but I was able to deduct it all as a temporary assignment in New Jersey. So anyway, that's I did that through college for a couple of years, and as I said, was fairly successful. And the reason, and one of the great things it did about it, one of the great things about it was that it gave me a business card. Not many college kids in those days had business cards, and it said advertising. I think it said account executive. Yeah, account executive. Account executive. So it sounded like big stuff, you know. Really, I was door to door. I'd go into a little town and call on everybody I could. And so I got jobs like doing promotional stuff for, you know, the student organizations I was in, and organizing things. And you know, I was majoring in history and philosophy, but I got a minor, essentially the equivalent of a minor in communications. And so I got these jobs and being in charge of stuff, and it was very helpful long term in going into advertising and marketing, though I never took an advertising or marketing course, but I did it on the fly. And straight commission sales is a great training ground, especially if you're going to create sales management systems, which I later did with Vic Hunter. We won't get into that today. In fact, this is probably enough. So how does this translate into faith in business? Well, again, my message for this early phase, and I have set up a playlist now over on YouTube, and there's a link. I'll put a link down in the description. LinkedIn doesn't like links in the main header, although I do it anyway. I don't really care what LinkedIn thinks. But there is a playlist being built, and we'll probably get the podcasts going. I see someone's watching right at the moment. That could be me. Anyway, so the message right now at this early stage is that I believe God was guiding my life in the fact that I had advertising experience through my dad's company. I mean, it was my dad's company, but he gave me like a half a day of training, and here are the pitches to memorize, and go, you know, to any small town you want and call on everybody. And nevertheless, you know, I found out I could do it, probably because of my transient background until I started school, which I shared in an earlier message. So stick with us. We're talking about walking through life in retrospect and trying to see how God can guide you by faith through that life. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends wonder why